What is going on, friends? Sean Don coming back with a technical analysis. Here we have Daniel Capobianco, St. Francis. So before we get into this video, I just want to let you guys know if you're interested in online coaching services of any kind, technical coaching, throws programming, lifting programming, consulting, whatever you need, go check out my website, www.gripandrip.co. All right, brothers, join the movement. Sign up now. Make them gains. All right, so let's get into this video. Take a look at Daniel's throw. Sent in a few videos. This is his most recent PR of 43.91. And Daniel's thing that he's wondering about is how fast he should wind. He likes it when he winds more aggressively and grips and rips it, as he said. And let me just tell you right off the bat that winding smoother is the way to go. Gripping and ripping, as much as I love that phrase, so much so that I named my business after it, is a state of mind, not necessarily something you actually want to do within the throw. Alright, smooth, long, connected is the way to go. And now we will break down and I will elaborate why. So basically, smooth, big, relaxed winds are the way to go. It sets up the throw. Alright, if you add speed, or if you're winding too fast, you start the throw too fast, there's really nowhere to accelerate from there on out. Also, if you wind too fast, it can hamper connection overall. And really what matters in the hammer throw is connection, is tension. And that's not tension created by the thrower, but tension created from the ball. So in these winds, you can see right from the start, you're really working the hands forward, around, back behind you, and then same sort of thing again, forward, around, back behind you. Looks like you're really kind of like putting the sauce into it. This isn't as bad as the previous video, the one from April 9th, I believe it was. This is a little bit more relaxed, but this still looks just a little bit too jerky. You know, it's not really smooth, it's not really connected. And you can see, as you come around an entry, how tight your arms and shoulders are, especially your left arm coming across your chest like that. So there's really not the connection that you need to optimize your throw. Now, speaking short term, gripping and ripping might feel good, but talking long term, whether it be a month from now, 2 months from now, or even 2 or 3 years from now, it's going to be better to wind smooth, feel the actual tension and connection from the hammer, let the hammer create the tension and the connection. Whereas, like I said, right from the start, right here in this swing, by bringing your hands forward so aggressively like that, it's kind of hard to connect. And also, winding aggressively is going to be kind of more hit or miss. You're probably going to create more bad habits. You're going to have to fight against the hammer, where that's kind of the basis of what your throw looks like right now, where it really looks like you're fighting against the hammer. And that's most indicative by this left shoulder, kind of, like I said, being very tight across the body. And then you're not really going to feel your hips connect to the throw. And if your hips don't really connect to the throw, you can see you're very tight, pulling the hammer across the body. And then there's a lot of up and down and kind of extraneous movement in there because you're just fighting and fighting and fighting, and you're doing anything you can to accelerate the hammer instead of letting the hammer accelerate itself. So this is like a weird philosophical difference here, but I mean, the throw itself isn't bad. It's just it's not the most optimal because, like I said, you are quite overactive, it seems like. So right from the start, slow down the winds. Smooth is the way to go. So maybe make this first preliminary swing. Don't let the ball come up so high. Keep the ball a little bit lower, more controlled, and then you need to build tension. Let the throw build tension as it goes on. So you need to start with the least amount of tension in the preliminary swing, and then add a little bit, or let the tension develop a little bit more in the first wind, and then into the second wind, and then through the entry, and then through the 3 turns through the finish. If you can let the tension build consistently throughout the throw, that will be your most optimal throw. Whereas right now it looks like you're kind of just really jerking the hammer along, especially right here in the entry. This is just the big thing right there. Really cutting it off. Really tight. Alright, so that's the thing. If you have smooth, long, connected winds, your turns are going to be smooth and long and connected, and you're going to have a longer ball path. And a longer ball path means typically more acceleration, even though it might not feel like it. It's this weird thing where you need to battle the ego, and the ego wants to feel strong, powerful, but for true power, you must remove the ego from the equation and let the hammer do all the work. So yeah, so to talk you through it a little bit more on what you need to do specifically, like I said, slow down this preliminary swing, slow down the winds. And you want to make big circles with your hands, with the ball in your winds. You want the radius of the winds to be as big as the orbit in the turns. So you could say perhaps the bigger the orbit in the winds, the bigger the orbit in the turns, so long as you're long and you wait and you're connected, where, like I said, your hands are low, down towards the hips. Your elbows kind of come a little bit too high. You can see how shifted forward you are. This isn't really the most powerful position. I mean, you do a good job of reaching your hands out, but you need to wait for the hammer. Like I said, you need to feel the hammer coming, or feel the throw coming from the core and the torso, and stability in the hips. Whereas right now, it's almost all coming from that left shoulder pulling across. You can see the left shoulder's up towards the ear, left arm's coming across the body, and like you're trying to get your hips up into it, but your left side just cuts it off entirely. All right, so that's you fighting the ball. And then you can see the tension through the arms. Instead of letting the hammer go far around the left, go long out towards the sector, you're cutting it off. You're too tight with the arms, kind of squeezing down in the armpits. You got to relax the armpits and let them go. All right, I'm probably going to title the video that because I think it's hilarious. So relax the armpits to throw far. But yeah, you just got to, like, your hips are trying to get up into the throw pretty well, but your upper body's just doing too much, and that's the problem with winding aggressively, is your upper body's going to be too tight. The ball's not going to feel as good as it could because you're fighting against it, as I've said probably about 10 times this video already. But you catch with this very tight, very, very tight entry. The ball's going to be really short around the left side. With the ball being really short around the left side, it's going to have a short path, which means you don't have a lot of time to put your foot down. So that means you're going to catch late. You catch with the ball after 270. That's not really ideal. Your hips are underneath you, but there's no tension, there's no separation for you to work with. So then from here, that left side's going to pull more. Left side pulls back. Your hips are trying to get up into it, but same thing. Arms are just too tight to the body. Same sort of thing again. You're going to catch late. Hips aren't quite underneath you. There's no separation between the upper and lower body. And then same sort of thing again. Left side pulls back. Hips are trying to work up, but there's just not quite enough direction. As you can see, you're kind of cutting the hammer off once again. It's not growing towards the sector at all. So you fight around and you have your best catch on your last turn, but it's still not as good as it should be. Like, this is kind of, if this was your first turn, it wouldn't be as bad, but yeah, you just need a little bit more separation, I think, between the upper and lower body. And that doesn't mean, you know, pull the hips even more, pull the shoulder even more. It's, like I said, it's about what you're doing with the ball. You can see right here, this is another example of that. This is I rarely ever say this term, but this is an example of dragging the hammer across. I really don't ever say dragging the hammer anymore, but this is an example of dragging the hammer across the body. And like, you're strong enough that you can kind of fight through it and you stick a good finish. So like, you get a good finish on it, but there's a lot to be desired, I think, early on in the throw. Slow, steady winds, big circles around the body, stable, down in the legs, hips underneath you. Feel it in the hips, feel it in the core, hands out away from the body. And then wait for the ball. This is the most important part of the throw right here, is right here from second wind through entry. You just wait for the ball. Let the hammer get ahead of you. Like I said, relax the armpits. Feel kind of like you're backhanding the ball. Left hand, it goes across. Hammer leads, turns you. Hammer goes around the left. You feel it stretch kind of down towards the right sector line, maybe towards the sector itself, towards 180 itself. And then from there, it's just waiting again and waiting again and waiting again. And feeling the hips stable underneath you, holding that tension, holding that posture, and relaxing more and more as the throw goes on. And you'll feel that stretchiness as the throw develops, whereas right now this looks, like I said, very constricted, very tight. Let me know if you have any questions, Daniel. Like I said, there's potential in here for at least a 45-meter throw, maybe 46, 47 if you really get stretchy with it. But Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If anybody else out there would like a technical analysis or any other coaching services, go to my website, www.gripandrip.co. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, Sean Don signing off.